Break the chains that I let bind me. Heal the pain that lives inside me. Set me free.
We're going to begin our series going through some of the parables of Christ. And I want to begin by looking at what's referred to as the parable of the weeds found in Matthew chapter 13. And I'll read it to you. It's starting in verse 24. It says, "He put another parable before them, saying, The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while his men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared also. And the stewards of the master of the house came and said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have weeds? He said to them, An enemy has done this. So the servant said to him, Then do you want us to go and gather them? But he said, No, lest in gathering the weeds you root up the wheat along with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at harvest time I will tell the reapers, Gather the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn." You know, when we see parables like this, the first question we need to ask ourselves is, what is Jesus trying to teach us about? Well, in verse 24 he tells us the kingdom of heaven. And Jesus is using something everyone can understand in order to reveal something spiritual, the kingdom of heaven. So what exactly is the kingdom of heaven, you may be asking? Well, a kingdom would be a domain or a country that's ruled by a king. As we've seen in our previous study on devils, Satan has attempted to set up his kingdom here on earth. He is the prince of the power of the air, the Bible says. Well, of course, we know the Bible also teaches that the world is the Lord's and all its fullness. And Satan's reign is temporary. As fallen, sinful people, we've been born into a sinful, fallen kingdom. We've never experienced what God's initial perfect world was like. And none of us have been to heaven where God lives, where there is no sin. And so Christ has come, and he is allowing us to see into his kingdom where he is king and he is ruler. We can certainly understand this whole concept of king and kingdoms, even if only from our history books and movies. The king reigns supreme in his kingdom as Christ does in his. Here Jesus is showing us an earthly thing that may be compared to how God operates in his spiritual kingdom concerning mankind. And since we are in the kingdom of Christ, or heaven, as his children, since Christ is our king who rules this kingdom, it's important for us to understand as much as possible about how God rules and how he operates. Fortunately for his disciples and for us, Jesus explained this parable to them later in the chapter, in verse 36. Then he left the crowds and went into the house, and his disciples came to him, saying, Explain to us the parable of the weeds of the field. He answered, The one who sows is the good seed. The good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed is the sons of the kingdom. The weeds are the sons of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the close of the age, and the reapers are the angels. Just as the weeds are gathered and burned with fire, so it will be at the close of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all causes of sin, all lawbreakers, and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. You know, first Jesus explains that he is the only way to God. He is the only way of salvation. There's no other way. Jesus said, If I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto myself. The cross points us to Jesus, and all who come to him, Jesus said, I will in no way cast out. Secondly, we see here that Satan is at work as well. He's opposing God. He's seeking, as we've said many times, to steal, kill, and destroy God's creation. And so here we see on earth the lost and the saved. You know, if you were to look into a crowd of people, you can't tell who's saved and who's lost. They grow just like the weeds and the tares grow together, so the lost and saved here on earth.
Make sure to tune back in tomorrow at swordbox.org as Mickey continues with the parable of the wheat and the tares.